Chapter 2231, Refining Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus. Chapter 2231, Refining Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable was very daring. She flew rapidly and went deep into Northern Plains, the former location of Imperial Court Blessed Land. She did not target any of the Huang Jin tribe members. She acted like Giant Sun Immortal Venerable, staying in the sky and starting to refine the natural wisdom path Tao marks of Northern Plains. At once, starlight shined in the sky, spreading rapidly to the surroundings. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable did not move into Longevity Heaven directly. Although it seemed like this was the best opportunity to attack Longevity Heaven, since Giant Sun Immortal Venerable was far away in Eastern Sea, the truth was that it was not easy for Star Constellation Immortal Venerable to enter Longevity Heaven. Grotto heavens were condensed into one spot in the sky. Unless the Immortal Aperture's entrance was open, outsiders could not get in easily. This was also why heaven form had immense value. Furthermore, even if Star Constellation Immortal Venerable managed to get inside Longevity Heaven, she could not destroy the rank 9 Grotto Heaven in a short period of time. By then, Giant Sun Immortal Venerable would come back and defend the Grotto Heaven. He would fight against Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. In that case, if Giant Sun Immortal Venerable gives up on Fang Yuan and fights Star Constellation Immortal Venerable instead, not only would there be risks of getting injured, he would expend more immortal essence as well. That would benefit Fang Yuan too much. In this contest of 3 venerables, they were mutually wary of each other. While thinking of ways to attack the others, these venerables also had to maintain their own development speed. This situation was very complex now. If one acted rashly without consideration, they would be courting death. Having judgment was very important. If one made an appropriate move with just the right intensity, they would gain a bit of advantage in this stalemate of the 3 venerables. The 3 venerables knew this, thus, each of their actions contained deep meaning and considered the reactions of each other. In most cases, they reacted according to the situation. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable had already calculated her current actions clearly. This was the most advantageous move for her. Firstly, Fang Yuan had to be weakened. This person was too shameless and had no bottom line. In Star Constellation Immortal Venerable's mind, even if they had the same battle strength, Fang Yuan would still be a bigger problem than Giant Sun Immortal Venerable. Currently, Fang Yuan's circumstances were very troublesome. The difficulty of maintaining heaven form would only increase with time, because more than half of his heaven path research results came from Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. She knew about this clearly. Fang Yuan had to guard heaven form while expending immortal essence. This depleted his already low reserves. And now, Giant Sun Immortal Venerable came to Eastern Sea to refine its luck path Tao marks. This was a way to weaken Fang Yuan as well. At the same time, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable requested Immortal Gu from Fang Yuan in exchange for making a move. This was also a way to weaken him. In addition, Giant Sun Immortal Venerable was also weakened by this move. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable had the advantage of immortal essence. This was something that Star Constellation Immortal Venerable knew. With this advantage, if Star Constellation Immortal Venerable did not disrupt him, Giant Sun Immortal Venerable's Tao mark refinement rate would always be higher than Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. Additionally, for Heavenly Court, Northern Plains Gu Immortal World had a bigger threat than Eastern Seas Gu Immortal World. It was a well-known fact that Northern Plains Gu Immortals had outstanding battle strength and bravery. This was something that Eastern Sea lacked. Star Constellation. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable, who was in ICC area, gritted his teeth. His expression turned ugly. But he did not move from his position. He continued to refine the luck path Tao marks. Because Star Constellation Immortal Venerable did not attack Longevity Heaven or the Huang Jin tribes, this was not something that Giant Sun Immortal Venerable could not endure. If Star Constellation Immortal Venerable went beyond this, Giant Sun Immortal Venerable would return and fight with her. This was undeniable. If a strong enemy tried to step over one's bottom line, there had to be fierce retaliation. Otherwise, the enemy would think that one was easy to bully. Then in the future, life would only get tougher. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable did not step over Giant Sun Immortal Venerable's bottom line, so there was no intense desire for Giant Sun Immortal Venerable to return to Northern Plains. So what if he returned? By then, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable could just leave, but could Giant Sun Immortal Venerable chase after her and barge into Heavenly Court? Even if he reached Heavenly Court, could he fight against Star Constellation Immortal Venerable? Would Fang Yuan not benefit from that? If Star Constellation Immortal Venerable left and Giant Sun Immortal Venerable did not chase her, if he returned to Eastern Sea, what if Star Constellation Immortal Venerable went back to Northern Plains again? If they did this repeatedly, what would be the point of it all? Was traveling not costly on immortal essence? If Giant Sun Immortal Venerable did that, he would not be able to refine many of Eastern Sea's luck path Tao marks, yet he would spend a lot of time in immortal essence. Was that not a huge joke? The situation was different for Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. Even if she attacked or retreated multiple times, she would still get Fang Yuan's Immortal Gu. Thus, Giant Sun Immortal Venerable chose not to move, he continued refining Eastern Sea's luck path Tao marks. But at this time, Fang Yuan approached Giant Sun Immortal Venerable. Giant Sun, why must we behave like this? We are both victims of Heavenly Court. They have the deepest foundation and Central Continent is the strongest region, this is an undeniable fact. Furthermore, not long ago, Heavenly Court denounced us as demon venerables. We need to join hands and deal with Heavenly Court instead. Look at the situation now, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable has openly gone to Northern Plains to refine the wisdom path Tao marks there, she is simply disregarding your existence. Fang Yuan urged him while suggesting, why don't we have a transaction? I will pay you Immortal Gu in exchange for you refining Central Continent's Tao marks. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable laughed as he replied, Fang Yuan, it seems that Star Constellation Immortal Venerable made such a transaction with you too. Since the 5 regions are one, and the regional walls no longer exist, I can not only refine Eastern Sea's luck path Tao marks here, but also Central Continents. If you want me to let Eastern Sea off, I need to see how many Immortal Gu you can give. When Fang Yuan and Giant Sun Immortal Venerable were still bargaining, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable contacted him again. Fang Yuan, you have already seen my sincerity. It is your turn now. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable asked for Immortal Gu directly. Fang Yuan was silent for a moment before sending Permanence Gu into Treasure Yellow Heaven. Speaking of which, this Permanence Gu belonged to Heavenly Court at first. Back then, Fang Yuan had obtained it after destroying Heavenly Court's Immortal Gu house, Eternal Yacht, in the River of Time. After Star Constellation Immortal Venerable received Permanence Gu, she inspected it before hearing Fang Yuan's new suggestion, if Star Constellation Immortal Venerable attacked Longevity Heaven or any of the Huang Jin tribes, he would pay her even more Immortal Gu. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable smiled, if I do that, it will not be just 3 Immortal Gu. Her attitude was quite similar to Giant Sun Immortal Venerable who was talking on the other end. Fang Yuan snorted in his heart. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable was a Wisdom Path Immortal Venerable after all, in this situation, she was gaining the most benefits. Fang Yuan was merely trying to stall for time now to undergo refinement. As long as he refined rank 9 Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus, these losses would all be worth it, even if he had to increase the chips. But the problem for Fang Yuan now was that he lacked Immortal Essence. It seems that I must accelerate the time of the Sovereign Immortal Aperture. Right now, Fang Yuan's gaze was like a hawk, he stared at Heaven form sharply, it shivered in response. Fang Yuan did not want to raise the speed of time in the Sovereign Immortal Aperture, but there were no alternatives. At this point, he had already paid a considerable price to get this opportunity. And Fang Yuan's biggest worry was that such an opportunity seldom knocked twice, in the future, he might not be able to do this anymore. If the opportunity presented itself, he had to grab onto it. Within the Sovereign Immortal Aperture, Fang Yuan's Time Path clone Xianxia started to use Time Path killer moves. One after another, killer moves were activated, the raging water of the River of Time was drawn into the Year Essence Pool. Next, through it, the water was diverted to the respective subpools. The time path zones that the year essence pool controlled had faster time flow now, it was obvious when compared to the surroundings. And this difference was expanding and getting more evident. After Fang Yuan became venerable, the sovereign immortal aperture's rate of time became quite close to the 5 regions, but now, after he used this method, the difference became larger again. This was a huge threat, of course. Normally speaking, a chaotic disaster occurred once 100 years, now, it might arrive in 70 or 80 years. Once Fang Yuan's chaotic disaster arrived, the other venerables would find the chance to attack him together. At that time, he would face both internal and external threats. Fang Yuan had a determined expression. He resolved himself after making this choice. Whether this gamble was worth it would depend on the future. As the sovereign immortal aperture's rate of time rose, the production of yellow apricot immortal essence also started to accelerate. The development of the immortal aperture was improved greatly as well. The 3 venerables were in a deadlock now. As days passed, the 5 regions Gu immortal world focused on these 3 venerables, observing their actions and discussing their possible future decisions. Because Xianxia used too many time path methods in this period, he had to recuperate and rest. Thus, Wu Shuai led the other Gu immortals and formed the first water vein. Fang Yuan was facing greater difficulty in maintaining heaven form now. While Star Constellation Immortal Venerable asked him for a second immortal Gu. Star Eyes, Star Thought. After hesitating for a while, Fang Yuan chose to give Star Thought Immortal Gu to Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. Immortal Killer Move, Obscured Heavenly Secret. On this day, Fang Yuan finally used this killer move officially. It marked the start of Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus Refinement. This time, Obscured Heavenly Secret was modified by Fang Yuan. It contained a few more Heaven Path Immortal Gu. Not only was it stronger and thicker, it could even allow him to control the range of Obscured Heavenly Secret to a certain extent. Fang Yuan was not stingy now. He directly used 60% of his Heaven Path Immortal materials. At almost the same time as Obscured Heavenly Secret's activation, within the Sovereign Immortal Aperture, the refinement to advance Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus also started. Inside 4 Element Square Regret Blood Refinement Pool, Wu Shuai, Xianxia, and around 10 Hairy Man Gu Immortals got to their stations and started to wait for the refinement to start. This was an incredible group that gathered, but they were only helping out now. The divine sense of Fang Yuan's main body was present now. He was going to refine Gu personally. Rumble. Jade light shot out, surging like a flowing river. Fragrance spread everywhere, causing people to feel delighted. This was just the first step, but a small mountain of rank 9 wood path immortal materials were already expended. Rank 9 immortal Gu were all extraordinary, while Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus was Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable's vital Gu. It was also the most helpful Gu to Fang Yuan now. This was a huge uncertainty. Therefore, Fang Yuan soon sensed a huge fluctuation in his own luck. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2232, Furnace Luck. Chapter 2232, Furnace Luck. Fang Yuan willed in his mind. Rank 8 Immortal Gu House Cooking Luck Pots started to activate. Fang Yuan diverted his gaze and looked up above him. He saw that his rank 9 refinement path luck was like a furnace. The furnace seemed to be made of clay. There were many cracks on the surface that made it look like it was poorly created. At the bottom of the furnace, there was a pile of firewood burning intensely. This showed that Fang Yuan was currently using all of his immortal essence reserves. Within the furnace, 2 lumps of clouds were intertwined. One lump was an immortal crane cloud that was white in color with black spots inside. It resembled heaven form. This cloud was close to breaking apart, but each time it was about to collapse, heat would be emitted from the furnace to forcefully gather it again. The other lump of cloud was smaller. It resembled a green lotus. The green lotus cloud was the opposite of the immortal crane. The latter was close to breaking apart while the former was too tightly compacted. Most of the furnace's heat was used on this green lotus cloud. It was trying to melt a piece of limestone. The green lotus cloud was mostly condensed, only a small portion melted and spread out, flowing towards the cracks of the furnace and sinking to the bottom, as if it was trying to take root. The furnace is too crudely made. It is filled with cracks. that shows that my foundation is not stable. The sovereign immortal aperture also has another hidden threat, because it has not gone through an actual chaotic disaster. There is huge room for improvement. The immortal crane cloud is heaven form, while the green lotus cloud is my attempt at refining heavenly essence treasure imperial lotus. What about the luck of other venerables? Fong Yuan tried to look, but he could not see anything beyond the furnace luck. When he was rank 8, his luck was like a silver light pillar, while the other 3 venerables' lucks were like clouds floating around him. Right now, he had become a refinement path venerable, but he could no longer see the venerables' lucks. Fong Yuan knew the reason. Other than the 2 venerables' defensive methods, the main reason was that cooking luck pot's rank was too low. It was only rank 8, it was already outstanding to be able to see Fong Yuan's own rank 9 luck. Of course, there were still specific details that could not be seen through it. If it had to observe the other 2 lucks and see how they related to Fong Yuan's own luck, the difficulty would be beyond cooking luck pot's capability. But even if I can see the luck relationship, I cannot use it as reliable information. Fong Yuan thought. Before the battle in Crazed Demon Cave, Fong Yuan used luck inspection multiple times. Now that he recalled it, the luck phenomena regarding Star Constellation Immortal Venerable and Spectral Soul Demon Venerable were quite accurate. The main reason for what he saw was that Star Constellation Immortal Venerable was split into 3 existences, while Spectral Soul Demon Venerable was not in his normal state, and they were also not luck path cultivators. The Golden Aurora luck of Giant Sun Immortal Venerable was clearly not reliable. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable revived through blood path methods, but this important information was not shown in the luck phenomenon. At the same time, his combat system had a terrifying aftereffect. This was also not exposed. The Golden Aurora luck that symbolized Giant Sun Immortal Venerable was suppressed most of the time. Evidently, Giant Sun Immortal Venerable had used luck path methods to conceal his own luck and mislead Fong Yuan. He was Giant Sun Immortal Venerable, the former luck path venerable. He was also clear of how cooking luck pot worked. It was not strange that he achieved this. Fong Yuan was currently thinking of using obscured heavenly secret to deceive the 2 venerables. The truth was, Giant Sun Immortal Venerable had already been doing this before the battle in Crazed Demon Cave. Inside the Sovereign Immortal Aperture. 4 Element Square Regret Blood Refinement Pool. Gray fire was burning intensely. It was huge like a mountain. Wood path immortal materials were put inside one by one as they melted like candles. At the bottom of the fire, there was a 10,000-year profound ice. Rank 8 Immortal Gu Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus was sealed within the profound ice. The Gu immortals present were tense and nervous originally, but more than 10 days had passed since the refinement started. All of them were starting to feel excited and joyful. All of the immortal materials have successfully melted. At this rate of progress, in just 10 or so days, the advancement will succeed. What sort of incredible Gu refinement method is this? On the surface, it looks like the fusion of ice refinement and fire refinement, but in essence, this is the perfect combination of the profundity of the human isolation style and hairy man natural Gu refinement method. There are also many crucial points that are filled with mystery. Even if we participated personally and watched the entire process closely, we cannot understand the deep meaning contained within. Master is truly worthy of being a refinement path venerable. The difference between us is night and day. But right at this time, Fong Yuan's expression sank. Oh no, the Gu refinement is going to fail. An intense refinement path intuition filled his mind and body. Fong Yuan bore no doubt towards this intuition. At the first instant, he realized the truth. There was a problem with the processing of the wood path immortal materials. These wood path immortal materials seemed to be fine, but there was a tiny flaw in each step of the process. As these flaws accumulated, they became significant enough to destroy the entire refinement attempt. If he continued, there would be no point. Fong Yuan made a decision to terminate the Gu refinement attempt. What? Why did we stop? Everything was gone smoothly. Fool, Master made a decision, it has to be right. We are too weak, how can we understand him? Immediately follow his orders and do it. Within 4 Element Square Regret Blood Refinement Pool, the 10 or so Gu immortals worked chaotically as they gradually stopped the Gu refinement. After a day and night, under the full effort of Fong Yuan and the rest, the first refinement attempt stopped. All of the rank 9 immortal materials that they invested were wasted. The Gu immortals all had mild injuries, even 4-element square regret blood refinement pool was damaged. But what made Fang Yuan feel the most loss was the expenditure of yellow apricot immortal essence. As the main person involved in this refinement, he suffered the most severe injuries. Immortal killer move, refine self. Fang Yuan used his killer move and refined all of the wood path and refinement path Dao marks while feeling glad internally. Thankfully, I became a venerable and gained such precise refinement path intuition. Even during the process of refining a rank 9 immortal Gu, I still hold the initiative. Having the initiative made the situation completely different. Like this time, Fang Yuan sensed that he would fail and immediately stopped. By doing this, he suffered much fewer losses and most importantly, their injuries were also kept to a minimum due to their precaution. Rank 9 Immortal Gu refinement was not a simple thing. Without intuition, if one failed suddenly, more than half of these Gu immortals would die, while 4-element square regret blood refinement pool would be destroyed completely, or if he was lucky, a small portion might remain. But Fang Yuan would suffer much deeper injuries, it was certain to incapacitate him. But now that he took the initiative to stop, the loss of resources and Gu immortals, and the Immortal Gu House's damage were kept to a minimum. Rank 8 Immortal Gu Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus was also intact with no damage taken. Of course, this had to do with the refinement plan that Fang Yuan came up with meticulously. This time, he chose to use ice refinement to isolate rank 8 Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus first. He would only use it in the last few steps. If only I could get some success Dao marks from infallible blessed land, that would be great. Or maybe, if I can raise my wood path attainment level, my ability to process these wood path immortal materials will increase, it will help this situation. Fang Yuan speculated inwardly. Even Fang Yuan had not understood completely what the secret behind infallible blessed land success Dao marks was. He was a refinement path venerable, theoretically, he was the number 1 person in refinement path in the world. His supreme grandmaster attainment level allowed him to grasp every single refinement path method in the world. But infallible blessed land was the racial inheritance of hairy men. Even until today, Heavenly Court had not managed to take control of it, they were very wary against it. Success Dao marks were too helpful for Gu refinement. According to Fang Yuan's deductions, it not only contained refinement path profundity but also the essence of human path. This could be speculated by reading the legends of Renzu. Precisely because of the human path profundity, Fang Yuan could not replicate the success Dao marks now. After a temporary rest, Fang Yuan healed himself while stabilizing heaven form. He also used investigative killer moves to observe the 2 venerables' actions. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable was in ICC area, while Star Constellation Immortal Venerable went deep into northern plains. They were both focused on refining natural Dao marks. The best situation is to maintain the status quo. For this goal, Fang Yuan was willing to pay more immortal Gu to them. This was a necessary investment. However, the 2 venerables are unable to fully refine the natural Dao marks of both regions. I do not have much time left. Fang Yuan understood this clearly. It was a simple thing. Eastern Sea and Northern Plains were huge and contained innumerable Dao marks. Even these 2 venerables could not refine them all in a short period of time. This was an easily proven fact. He only had to check historical records and see how long the venerables took to roam the world after reaching rank 9. The 2 venerables are limited by not just time but also immortal essence. Once the 2 of them run out of immortal essence reserves, they will not be able to continue refining natural Dao marks, they will stop then. After all, they need to keep a portion of their immortal essence for combat and potential unexpected occurrences. Thinking of this, Fang Yuan gritted his teeth. This Gu refinement failure was very disadvantageous to him. Because it did not fail early but only occurred past the halfway mark, he had to start all over again. Fang Yuan had too little time. He estimated that there was only 1 chance left. No, 1 chance is too few. It has been tested that even as a rank 9 refinement path venerable, my success rate of refining rank 9 immortal Gu is far lower than rank 8. It seems that I need to gamble harder. Fang Yuan immediately ordered for Xianxia to take action in the Sovereign Immortal Aperture again. Time Path Killer moves were used in succession. Sovereign Immortal Aperture's time flow rose again. But Fang Yuan paid a huge price for this. Because he had just used Time Path Killer moves earlier, the effect of the current methods were too little. In order to raise the time flow forcefully, Fang Yuan had to use other time path methods. And the result was that Xianxia's time path Dao marks were all used up in the process. It could be said that this time path clone was basically useless now. But in the current situation, with Spring-Autumn Cicada being unusable, it was not a huge concern that the time path clone became useless. After everything was prepared, Fang Yuan started to refine Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus again while racing against time. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2233, Black Heaven's Heavenly Spirit. Chapter 2233, Black Heaven's Heavenly Spirit. Inside the Sovereign Immortal Aperture. Quick, take my place, I can't hold on anymore. I'll come. Huff, we finally got through another stage. Within 4 Element Square Regret Blood Refinement Pool, the assisting Gu Immortals were all breathing roughly. After the first failure, Fang Yuan continued to experience 2 more failed attempts. He had no lack of rank 9 wood path immortal materials, but time was pressing, he had no choice but to use more aggressive methods. He changed the procedure of the Gu refinement. Rank 8 Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus had to be protected, but the steps before that became more simplified. As a result, the expenditure of immortal essence became more intense, each step became more complex and needed the full effort of the assisting Gu Immortals. Evidently, they were reaching their limit. Fang Yuan frowned deeply. A few days passed but the 2 Venerables did not move, the situation was getting more troublesome for him. Not only was there little progress in refining rank 9 Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus, Heaven Form was also becoming harder to protect. The fusion of the immemorial 2 heavens had reached the most intense moment. In the sky above the 5 regions, black and white mixed together while changing rapidly. Day and night alternated at a rapid speed, mortals and beasts looked up in fear, they felt like the apocalypse was impending. Even the sun's route had changed. Everything that stood in its path, be they the black clouds or the soul beast army, they were all obliterated. The Heaven Form White Crane cried out profusely. Fang Yuan tried using refinement path methods but could only slow down the accumulation of its injuries. Heaven Form was getting more and more damaged. But Fang Yuan had already reached his own limit, he could not modify Heaven Form anymore. After all, he was currently refining a rank 9 immortal Gu. The most crucial factor is time. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable and Star Constellation Immortal Venerable are about to stop as well. Fang Yuan had already given the 3rd Immortal Gu Star Eyes to Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, he could still stall for a bit of time. Furthermore, Fang Yuan had been wasting time conversing with Star Constellation Immortal Venerable and Giant Sun Immortal Venerable, using the suggestion of transacting Immortal Gu to delay the inevitable. During this period, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable and Giant Sun Immortal Venerable had used their own investigative methods to probe Fang Yuan's situation. But because of the outstanding effects of obscured heavenly secret, Fang Yuan managed to conceal the truth. Fang Yuan had already expended a lot of immortal essence, his reserves were hitting rock bottom, meaning his battle strength had also fallen. If the truth was exposed, the 2 Venerables would join hands to attack him. Deep in northern plains. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable looked at the fusing heavens as starlight flashed across her eyes. It is about time. Now is the most intense moment of the Heaven Veins fusion, it is also the most important moment. If Fang Yuan gets through this, he may likely get to keep Heaven Form. But how can we let this happen? Star Constellation Immortal Venerable smiled, she moved and vanished on the spot like a stream of starlight. She quickly returned to Crazed Demon Cave. Because she was familiar with the place, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable easily arrived at the 9th layer void. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable was trapped here. Upon seeing star constellation Immortal Venerable, he roared and charged at her. Star constellation Immortal Venerable was prepared for this. She blocked Spectral Soul Demon Venerable's attacks while activating a method to form an opening. Star constellation Immortal Venerable flew through this opening as Spectral Soul Demon Venerable chased after her, causing them both to arrive in Northern Plains. What? At almost the same time, Fang Yuan and Giant Sun Immortal Venerable had a sensation. Is Star Constellation Immortal Venerable thinking of releasing Spectral Soul Demon Venerable to slaughter living beings of my Northern Plains? Giant Sun Immortal Venerable frowned. He had considered this possibility earlier. But this was not the style of Heavenly Court. As expected, Giant Sun Immortal Venerable did not guess wrongly. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable retreated while luring Spectral Soul Demon Venerable to the two heavens. Fang Yuan is in trouble. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable relaxed his mind. He started to observe the show as a spectator. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, what are you doing? Fang Yuan immediately questioned her in Treasure Yellow Heaven, speaking furiously. I gave you 3 Immortal Gu earlier. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable smiled. Precisely so. I will tell you this secret that nobody knows. Back then, Spectral Soul Demon Venerable did not want to create Soul Path. His goal was killing Path. He is a person chosen by fate. He had immense innate luck and countless fortuitous encounters. Once, when he explored immemorial Black Heaven, what do you think he saw? Star Constellation Immortal Venerable spoke in a delicate tone. Upon hearing her words, Fang Yuan's expression sank as thoughts emerged in his mind. This was not hard to guess. Firstly, Spectral Soul Demon Venerable was not in the right state of mind. He lost his sanity and even went to fix the hole in the world boundary in Crazed Demon Cave. Secondly, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable was currently trying to lure Spectral Soul Demon Venerable to the immemorial two heavens. She wanted to give Fang Yuan trouble. But what kind of trouble was it? Even though heaven form could only remain in immemorial white heaven, it could still move around despite being on the brink of destruction. Thus, in theory, as long as Fang Yuan avoided battle and brought heaven form around at a quick speed, he only had to get away from Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. By then, Spectral Soul Demon Venerable without sanity would only attack Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. After all, she was the most threatening person to him. But now, since Star Constellation Immortal Venerable took such an action, she definitely had ways for Spectral Soul Demon Venerable to target Fang Yuan instead. With Fang Yuan's current predicament, the most likely answer became obvious. Fang Yuan snorted in his heart. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable explained the truth. It seems that you have guessed it. Indeed, back then, before Spectral Soul became a Demon Venerable, he had already obtained food path methods. Once, when he explored immemorial Black Heaven, he by chance found immemorial Black Heaven's heavenly spirit. Spectral Soul was eager to create killing path. He sensed the opportunity of that from the heavenly spirit. Thus, he used food path methods to devour this immemorial Black Heavenly Spirit into his stomach and fused it with himself. Immemorial Black Heaven's Heavenly Spirit. Back then, since Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable could find a natural heavenly spirit in immemorial White Heaven, why was there no such thing in Black Heaven? The reason was that Spectral Soul Demon Venerable had devoured Black Heaven's heavenly spirit. Fang Yuan, I will keep those 3 Immortal Gu. I need to return to Northern Plains and refine more wisdom path Dao marks. I will leave Spectral Soul Demon Venerable with you. After saying this, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable turned around and left. Seeing that she was leaving, Spectral Soul Demon Venerable showed a hesitant expression. Staring at Star Constellation Immortal Venerable who left, he turned towards Fang Yuan as there was something that attracted him even more. Fang Yuan's expression was grim. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable was still in the heaven above Northern Plains, but he had already sensed heaven form which was in Eastern Sea. Evidently, after he devoured Black Heaven's heavenly spirit, although he did not manage to create killing path, he still grasped a lot of profundities that allowed him to create soul path. When Spectral Soul Demon Venerable was trapped in the 9th layer, he could not sense the 5 regions and 2 heavens, but once he arrived in the immemorial 2 heavens, he clearly sensed the heavenly spirit. Black heavens and white heavens. Heavenly spirits originate from the immemorial two heavens. They are like a blessed land's land spirit and a grotto heaven's heavenly spirit. They hold authority and control over the two heavens. Precisely so, heaven form, which uses white heaven's heavenly spirit as the core, is able to find many of the grotto heavens in white heaven. It can even help me invade heavenly court. Now, with the fusion of both heavens, the two heavenly spirits of black and white heaven are also seemingly fusing together. No matter which side devours the other, they will gain a huge boost in strength and become the new core of the newly fused heaven. All sorts of reasons flashed in Feng Yuan's mind. Over at the other side, Spectral Soul Demon Venerable made his decision. He charged towards Feng Yuan's direction, seemingly following his instincts. He had a huge body that was no longer human, but he had genuine rank 9 cultivation level. He was extremely fast and simply looked like he was teleporting in black heaven. Feng Yuan sighed, seeing that Spectral Soul Demon Venerable was getting closer. He took heaven form and started to fly away. The sun. The sun was something that existed in immemorial white heaven. It was the biggest counter to immemorial black heaven. After Spectral Soul Demon Venerable devoured black heaven's heavenly spirit, he would also face such restrictions. Feng Yuan did not move all over the place. Firstly, heaven form was very unstable now. If he moved quickly, it might break apart. Secondly, the sun was a favorable environment for heaven form. And thirdly, if Feng Yuan went elsewhere to fight Spectral Soul Demon Venerable, the other two Venerables might sense his weakness and take action. Feng Yuan's main focus was to refine Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus now. He had to stall for more time and complete the refinement. Roar! Spectral Soul Demon Venerable started to chase Feng Yuan. Black-colored gas spread out into countless chains that shot towards Feng Yuan. Feng Yuan snorted and used a bit of his attention to destroy the black chains. His speed rose again as he approached the sun. As the distance shortened, the intense heat and light forced Feng Yuan to shut his eyes. If not for his defensive methods, he would have already been incinerated. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable chased relentlessly. He spit out a grand soul river while shooting countless soul spears and triggering explosions. He used all sorts of methods to stop Feng Yuan, but midway, the sun's light limited the power of his methods. By the time they reached Feng Yuan, the methods broke apart by themselves. Heaven form was crying more pitifully now. The closer it got to the sun, the more light path and fire path Dao marks there were. Heaven form could not take much more. I can't get any closer, otherwise, heaven form is going to break apart. Feng Yuan gritted his teeth. He followed after the trail of the sun, maintaining a certain distance. But then, after Spectral Soul Demon Venerable finally arrived, he started to fight against Feng Yuan. Feng Yuan fought as he retreated. He had to defend heaven form while dealing with Spectral Soul Demon Venerable. He also had to refine the rank 9 Immortal Gu. Thoughts were being consumed rapidly in his mind. His immortal essence reserves reached a critical level. The situation was perilous. This could not go on. If he fought now, his weakness would be exposed. Obscured heavenly secret could not hide anything in that case. A ruthless light flashed in Feng Yuan's eyes. He knew that those two Venerables were currently watching the commotion here with their full attention. I can only sacrifice heaven form now. At the next moment, Feng Yuan secretly activated obscured heavenly secret. But this time, the heaven form immortal material he chose to expend was the core of heaven form, the immemorial white heavenly spirit. Heaven form cried out as it looked at its master in fear. But in a few breaths of time, it vanished from existence entirely. A vast number of heaven path Dao marks that piled into a dense mountain shrouded Feng Yuan immediately. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable became enraged. Feng Yuan had destroyed heaven form in front of him and left nothing behind. At the next moment, Soul Path Killer moves erupted. Attacks surged like a huge tidal wave in the sky. Feng Yuan snorted coldly. He turned around and flew towards the sun. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2234, Refinement completed. Chapter 2234, Refinement completed. Immortal Killer Move, 7 Kills Rainbow. Fang Yuan pushed with his palm as a rainbow light shot out. Bam! With a loud sound, the rainbow light expanded by tens of times its original size. The huge heavenly beam swept around and destroyed all of the surrounding soul smoke. After getting a clear path, Fang Yuan raised his speed and successfully broke out of the soul smoke. At once, the intense sun filled Fang Yuan's vision. The terrifying light and heat wiped out the soul smoke that trailed behind him. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable shouted furiously, tearing its thin layer of soul smoke and chasing again. Still following me? Cold light flashed across Fang Yuan's eyes. At the crucial moment, he sacrificed the white heavenly spirit. Without the burden of heaven form, it was like he had put down a mountain on his back. Earlier, he could not get close to the sun because of heaven form. Without this worry anymore, Fang Yuan approached the sun even more closely. The terrifying white light almost blinded his eyes. The temperature rose intensely. Even with 3 defensive methods, Fang Yuan still felt difficulty in breathing. He was covered in perspiration. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable, who was behind him, activated killer moves again. Hundreds of arms that were thick as huge trees appeared. Black smoke surged from his body, spreading to the surrounding few li. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable got closer to Fang Yuan while covered in thick smoke. He wants to use a battlefield killer move to trap me. Surprise flashed in Fang Yuan's eyes as he took action to destroy the black smoke. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable immediately suffered a backlash. His aura weakened greatly. Most of Fang Yuan's attention was on Sovereign Immortal Aperture. He had not stopped focusing on the matter of refining Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus. Frankly speaking, the current Spectral Soul Demon Venerable was giving Fang Yuan very little pressure. The lack of sanity was Spectral Soul Demon Venerable's greatest weakness. Like earlier, he followed his instincts and tried to use a battlefield killer move to trap Fang Yuan. It was too stupid. Fang Yuan easily broke it and caused him to suffer a huge backlash. Earlier in Crazed Demon Cave, Fang Yuan, Giant Sun Immortal Venerable, and Paradise Earth were inside the door of life and death. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable had incomparable battle strength then. But now, without the Soul Path environment, Spectral Soul Demon Venerable's threat became much lower. And most importantly, Spectral Soul Demon Venerable is not in a good condition now. He must have paid a huge price to deal with that hole in Crazed Demon Cave. This means that the hole has likely been fixed by Spectral Soul Demon Venerable already. Fang Yuan knew that if there was a hole in the world boundary, the Heavenly Tao would use methods to heal itself. But because the chaos outside surged endlessly, self-healing was very difficult. The larger the hole, the more difficult it would be. Back then, Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable created a hole that needed several Venerables to work together to mend it. But the hole in Limitless Demon Venerable's Crazed Demon Formation was the smallest. The formation resisted the chaos and kept the hole small, allowing Crazed Demon Cave to exist for so long. After the battle in Crazed Demon Cave, Spectral Soul Demon Venerable went to fix this hole. He used his own foundation to resist the surging chaos, allowing the Heavenly Tao to have an opportunity to fix it. Thus, there was no surprise in this outcome. If the hole still existed, with Heavenly Court stance, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable would not lure Spectral Soul Demon Venerable away. The truth was, if the hole was still around, Spectral Soul Demon Venerable would not come out either. According to Fang Yuan's deductions, he would focus on the hole as his first priority. It is a pity that ghostly concealment has no effect, otherwise, I can get away from Spectral Soul Demon Venerable. Fang Yuan inherited Thieving Heaven True Inheritance's ghostly concealment, but the Venerables knew about this. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, and even Giant Sun Immortal Venerable had ways to counter it. Ghostly concealment was created in Thieving Heaven's time. After 300,000 years, it is already outdated in the Venerable's eyes. Fang Yuan wanted to modify it too, but he lacked Theft Path and Soul Path attainment levels. But even without ghostly concealment, Fang Yuan could still get away from Spectral Soul Demon Venerable. At the next moment, the battlefield killer move that he prepared for a long time activated. The killer move expanded and enveloped Fang Yuan, it then condensed into a small dot and vanished completely. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable attacked the original spot with countless attacks, but there was no effect. He could only move around the area while growling in anger. I cannot waste this chance, such an opportunity will not come again. Inside the battlefield killer move, Fang Yuan's eyes shined with brilliance. He started to refine Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus with his full strength. This was his last chance. Within 4 elements square regret blood refinement pool, flames surged as an icy river melted, pieces of rank 9 immortal materials were placed into the fire like cheap vegetables. At the core of the fire, there was a droplet of red liquid, it was as dense as molten lava. The red molten liquid was covered in a layer of golden radiance, it slowly dripped onto Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus. Under Fang Yuan's full control, the red molten liquid slowly permeated and spread around the surface of Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus. All of the Gu immortals were silent and did not dare to breathe heavily. Because they knew that these last few steps were the most crucial. If he fails, rank 8 Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus would be heavily damaged or even destroyed. Fang Yuan went missing. At the moment Fang Yuan entered the battlefield killer move, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable and Giant Sun Immortal Venerable used their strongest investigative methods. Under the protection of obscured heavenly secret, they only saw that Fang Yuan went into the battlefield, they did not find out the truth that he was refining Gu. So he used this move after all. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable was not surprised. If Spectral Soul Demon Venerable was sane, Fang Yuan would not do something so stupid. But because he was currently unable to think, it was a brilliant decision to do this and avoid him. He wants to use the sun to weaken Spectral Soul. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable guessed. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable stayed at the spot where Fang Yuan vanished, but the sun was still moving forward. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable smiled lightly, she immediately contacted Giant Sun Immortal Venerable and gave a suggestion to work together. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable could not help but feel moved. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable did not suggest to make a move on Fang Yuan, instead, her new target was Spectral Soul Demon Venerable. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable was not clear-headed now, he had also left the door of life and death. Even though he had venerable cultivation level, he was the weakest one. Now was the best time to kill him. If Spectral Soul Demon Venerable regained his sanity, then there would be a new chess player in the 5 regions and 2 heavens. That was something neither of the 3 venerables wanted to see. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable not only contacted Giant Sun Immortal Venerable, she also spoke to Fang Yuan. This old woman is brewing a good scheme. Not only did she get Immortal Gu from me, she also refined Northern Plains Wisdom Path Dao marks. After destroying my heaven form, she wants to kill Spectral Soul Demon Venerable now. The methods of Wisdom Path Gu immortals usually came consecutively, they were hard to deal with over time. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable was the strongest Wisdom Path Gu immortal in history, her methods and schemes made even Fang Yuan and Giant Sun Immortal Venerable wary. However, it was undeniable that this suggestion was very tempting. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable was in such a state, he had strength but not sanity, he was the best prey. Normally, I will definitely be moved. But now, refining Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus is the most important thing. Thinking of this, Fang Yuan still agreed to the suggestion. It was too suspicious if he refused. On one hand, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable and Giant Sun Immortal Venerable might think that he was lacking immortal essence and did not want to take action, it might cause them to pincer attack him. On the other hand, if Fang Yuan hid in the corner, the 2 venerables would not truly fight Spectral Soul Demon Venerable. They did not want him to reap the benefits as a spectator after all. Currently, in the Sovereign Immortal Aperture, the 6th drop of red molten liquid had already entered Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus. Fang Yuan agreed to Star Constellation Immortal Venerable while contacting Giant Sun Immortal Venerable. Giant Sun, I'm afraid Star Constellation Immortal Venerable has a deeper scheme in mind. Don't forget that she once controlled Spectral Soul Demon Venerable. It is likely that she will use us to weaken him before attempting to take control again. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable responded quickly, Heavenly Court is still very strong, while Star Constellation Immortal Venerable's schemes are unfathomable. However, we must try to kill Spectral Soul Demon Venerable. If he regains his sanity, it will be a problem for us all. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable also agreed to Star Constellation Immortal Venerable's suggestion. This was beneficial to him after all. He had abundant immortal essence now. If everyone fought, they would use up immortal essence, his advantage would become even greater. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable and Star Constellation Immortal Venerable went into the two heavens. They started to fight against Spectral Soul Demon Venerable. After a few rounds, under the urging of the two Venerables, Fang Yuan had to cancel his battlefield killer move and join in the fight with his main body. It could not be helped. If he did not go out, Giant Sun Immortal Venerable and Star Constellation Immortal Venerable would break his battlefield killer move together and force him out. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable could not think clearly now. He was helpless against a battlefield killer move, but the two Venerables were different. Starlight shined while golden light surged. Fang Yuan's totem killer moves also followed after them. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable was encircled and ganged up on. He landed in a pathetic state and lost several hundred arms. He retaliated fiercely with soul rivers and black soul lightning balls that exploded continuously. His main target was still Fang Yuan. If he devoured the white heavenly spirit, his ability to think would return. Is that why he hates me so much? Fang Yuan gritted his teeth but did not dodge. Within the sovereign immortal aperture, he reached the final step. The 99th molten liquid landed on Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus and started to spread. Rumble. Fang Yuan's vision turned dark, his body was covered in the cries and screams of anguished souls. Multiple layers of defensive killer moves erupted as Fang Yuan bled from his 7 orifices, his soul was shaking intensely. What happened? Did he make a mistake? The two Venerables retreated to the side. In the earlier situation, Fang Yuan should have had time to dodge. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable and Star Constellation Immortal Venerable looked at each other. They did not make a move. They would not save Fang Yuan of course, but due to conflicting Dao marks, if they attacked him, they would be weakening the soul path attack. Using this chance created by Spectral Soul Demon Venerable's attack, Fang Yuan stalled for the last bit of time he needed. Boom! For Element Square Regret Blood Refinement Pool erupted with unparalleled light. Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus was successfully elevated at this moment. Its rank 9 aura surged like a tsunami, spreading rapidly and filling the entire aperture. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2235, Spectral Soul Alone is Nothing to Fear. Chapter 2235, Spectral Soul Alone is Nothing to Fear. Rank 3 Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus. Rank 4 Heavenly Essence Treasure Monarch Lotus. Rank 5 Heavenly Essence Treasure King Lotus. And above rank 5. Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus. The Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus that he obtained from Xianxia sect was finally raised to rank 9 at this moment. This rank 9 Immortal Gu still had jade green lotus leaves. Its surface was bright and smooth, like it had a layer of glaze. At the center of the lotus, there was the bud of a lotus flower. The lotus flower had pure white jade-like petals. They were flawless and perfect, seemingly out of this world. Once rank 9 Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus was refined, it activated on its own, absorbing the surrounding primeval energy to convert them into clear dew beads. These pure dew beads gathered as they flowed along the glazed leaves, gathering into the bud at the center droplet by droplet. The white jade flower bud absorbed the dew droplets and started to turn pink at the top. Fang Yuan personally refined this Immortal Gu. He was clear about this. The white jade flower bud would gather more dew droplets and turn from white to pink, and from pink to bright red. When the flower petals turned red completely, it would bloom and reveal the jade green lotus pod inside. Within the lotus pod, there would be 81 lotus seeds, each of them was a yellow apricot immortal essence bead. After the yellow apricot immortal essence beads were extracted, the lotus flower would contract and turn white again. Next, it would absorb the clear dew droplets and restart the process again. Rank 9 Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus, Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable's Vital Gu, ranked 6th on the Immortal Gu list. Information flashed past Fang Yuan's mind, all of them proved the immense value of this Immortal Gu. But the truth was, Fang Yuan knew that this 6th placing of the Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus was too much of an underestimate. The reason? Before Fate Gu was destroyed, Venerables were invincible, they ruled their own era as the sole supreme entity. Even though Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable had rank 9 Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus and became the richest Venerable in history in terms of immortal essence, this advantage was useless in his life. In his era, he was the only Venerable, he had no use for most of his rank 9 immortal essence. Without any opponent, even an expert could only live his life mundanely. But now was different, Fate Gu was destroyed and the reign of 3 Venerables appeared, others might even revive later. O Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus, in my hands, you will shine brightly like never before. Fang Yuan was joyous. This result made all the earlier risks worth it. Even though he paid a terrifying price. Adding in his earlier failures, Fang Yuan used up 30% of his rank 9 wood path immortal materials. The crisis is not over yet. Fang Yuan analyzed calmly to himself. Surrounding him, a black soul river surged endlessly. Break! Fang Yuan shouted and activated his killer move, he barged out like a shooting star. Without the Gu refinement burdening his thoughts, he had a lot of usable strength now. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable attacked again while Fang Yuan retreated. Fang Yuan, let's cooperate to attack him. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable reminded. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable also stared at Fang Yuan intently, he used luck path methods unceasingly to try and see how much immortal essence Fang Yuan still had. Fang Yuan snorted coldly, his expression was livid as he said angrily, "Are you two bullying me because of my age? We were all meant to attack together, but I ended up facing the brunt of his attacks, not only did you two not help me, you even let Spectral Soul Demon Venerable go off while you watched this by the sidelines. Is this your so-called cooperation?" Saying so, he activated a compound killer move as yellowish-brown light shot out to block Spectral Soul Demon Venerable's attack. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable was silent before smiling and saying, "Fang Yuan, you are mistaken. Even though we cooperated, our Tao marks conflict, making a move would have had negative effects instead." Saying this, she waved her hand as a large amount of stardust landed on Spectral Soul Demon Venerable, breaking several hundred of his arms. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable also took action, golden light descended like sand and grinded away at Spectral Soul Demon Venerable's luck. Fang Yuan relaxed his mind at this moment, he sighed to himself as he thought, this obscured heavenly secret killer move is really useful. The situation earlier was simply too perilous. As long as the 2 Venerables sensed something wrong with Fang Yuan, they would attack him without restraint. But at that worst timing, he had too little immortal essence and could not fight them. If they attacked him, Fang Yuan would have no choice but to try and run. Even though Fang Yuan did not have the white heavenly spirit anymore, this was still a worthwhile trade-off. Even with all of Fang Yuan's methods, it was only because he expended the white heavenly spirit that he could deceive both Venerables at such a close range. But Fang Yuan did not know how long he could continue to deceive them. As Spectral Soul Demon Venerable roared, he activated Burning Soul Bursting Luck to block Giant Sun Immortal Venerable's golden sand. But Spectral Soul Demon Venerable still charged at Fang Yuan. Because Fang Yuan destroyed the white heavenly spirit, Spectral Soul Demon Venerable bore huge hatred towards him. Fang Yuan snorted coldly, he did not fight back with force, he flew toward Star Constellation Immortal Venerable instead. The 3 Venerables fought against Spectral Soul Demon Venerable, they had their own positions that were far away from each other. But now, Fang Yuan and Spectral Soul Demon Venerable moved quickly, they got close to her rapidly. Star constellation Immortal Venerable snorted coldly as starlight flew out of her mouth and rained down like a storm. The starlight rain surrounded star constellation Immortal Venerable's body like a river while shooting stars of various sizes shot out of the ripples. Instantly, countless flying stars appeared in the battlefield. It was a dazzling sight. Star constellation Immortal Venerable had such a move to summon so many stardust specks in a short period of time. Feng Yuan shook internally. These stardust specks were harmless to him. He only had to wipe them to refine all of these star marks. He had the perfect counter to this combat system. But Spectral Soul Demon Venerable could not do that. Because he was not sane, after getting hit by the stardust specks, his body became covered in injuries. He roared angrily, but his injuries accumulated. Good chance. Feng Yuan turned around and fought again. He unleashed another killer move. This was a refinement path method. The killer move shined with intense radiance, enveloping Spectral Soul Demon Venerable and eroding his soul beast body wherever the light went. But Star Constellation Immortal Venerable frowned deeply as she shouted, "Feng Yuan, what are you trying to do?" The reason was that although Feng Yuan hurt Spectral Soul Demon Venerable with this move, the Refinement Path Killer move was also used on the Star Path Dao marks. Feng Yuan got rid of over half the star marks that Star Constellation Immortal Venerable accumulated over this time. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable benefited from this and went back to a relaxed state. A small blunder, it is just a mistake. Feng Yuan laughed heartily. After a few rounds went by, Giant Sun Immortal Venerable also frowned. He spoke with a tone of anger, "Feng Yuan, what are your true intentions?" Feng Yuan said innocently, "I am trying to attack Spectral Soul Demon Venerable along with you. But we have conflicting Dao marks, and a lack of cooperation normally. This will get better if we continue to fight." Giant Sun Immortal Venerable and Star Constellation Immortal Venerable snorted coldly together. Feng Yuan was doing this on purpose. He was acting like a nuisance, disrupting Star Constellation Immortal Venerable and Giant Sun Immortal Venerable's attacks. After a few more rounds, Giant Sun Immortal Venerable shouted angrily, "Feng Yuan, enough is enough. The immemorial soul beasts you released are all countered by Spectral Soul Demon Venerable. After devouring them, he recovered by 30%. Feng Yuan rubbed his nose. I did not know that he had such methods. Saying so, he brought out a few more immemorial soul beasts. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable's eyes shined with starlight specks. She stared at Feng Yuan and said in an icy cold tone, "You are still letting more out?" Feng Yuan smiled plainly, "Star Constellation, don't worry, I used a method on these immemorial soul beasts. This is part of my plan. Just watch." Not long after, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable and Giant Sun Immortal Venerable saw that Spectral Soul Demon Venerable's injuries were recovering even more rapidly. His mental energy also recovered as well. Before the two Venerables questioned him, Feng Yuan rubbed his nose. "Oh, it seems that my plan failed." Giant Sun Immortal Venerable stayed silent while Star Constellation Immortal Venerable wanted to speak, but Feng Yuan suddenly snorted coldly, "Give me a minute, I need to prepare a powerful method." Saying so, he flew up to the sky and looked down at the battlefield. The two Venerables looked at each other before taking action to obstruct Spectral Soul Demon Venerable. After Feng Yuan's preparation, a huge field of fire clouds appeared above him. From them, flaming meteors descended. They were all around the size of mountains. There was a long trail behind them as they crashed into Spectral Soul Demon Venerable. Following his instincts, Spectral Soul Demon Venerable roared towards the sky, but he saw that these meteors flew past him without landing on him at all. Countless meteors flew across the battlefield, descending rapidly. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable's expression turned colder as her eyes sparked like lightning. Star Constellation chessboard appeared above her head. A large number of pieces flew out of the chessboard and hit the flaming meteors rapidly, destroying them. Feng Yuan was confused. "Star Constellation, what are you doing? These flaming meteors are very useful to me. I have a second move to use with them." Star Constellation Immortal Venerable gritted her teeth. "If I did not stop them, these meteors would have pierced the heavenly wind chi wall and landed in Central Continent. Fang Yuan smiled coldly. Star Constellation, we are trying to kill a Venerable, are you unwilling to pay a small price like this? If this happened in Eastern Sea, I would not have interfered. With this level of sincerity, you think we can kill Spectral Soul Demon Venerable today? Star Constellation Immortal Venerable stared at Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan, don't go overboard. Among the three of us, who do you think has the least sincerity? Fang Yuan's expression also turned cold. Star Constellation, do you think I am such a person? To kill Spectral Soul Demon Venerable, I gave you multiple Immortal Gu and even lost my Heaven Form killer move. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable and Giant Sun Immortal Venerable were speechless. It was clearly Fang Yuan's poor planning that got him targeted. He was too weak and unable to protect his rank 9 killer move, but now, from his tone, he wanted to seek compensation from them. How could that be possible? Giant Sun Immortal Venerable spoke. Fang Yuan, Spectral Soul Demon Venerable is targeting you. The two of us are helping you to deal with Spectral Soul Demon Venerable now. But Fang Yuan laughed heartily. Do I need your help? I can easily take care of this. You two can return to Longevity Heaven and Heavenly Court. I will fight against Spectral Soul Demon Venerable in Central Continent and Northern Plains to the best of my abilities, and I will take his life in the end. Just Spectral Soul alone is nothing to fear. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2236, Secretly Unsealing Truthful Floating Ice. Chapter 2236, Secretly Unsealing Truthful Floating Ice. Fang Yuan said while unsealing more immemorial soul beasts. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable moved rapidly, grabbing these immemorial soul beasts and devouring them into his stomach. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable's eyelids were twitching while Giant Sun Immortal Venerable's expression turned dark. Earlier, Fang Yuan emphasized on the words Central Continent, Northern Plains. He was clearly using these regions to threaten them. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable suggested that they should kill Spectral Soul Demon Venerable, regardless of her motive. This suggestion itself was a good one. But because of Fang Yuan's actions, he was clearly disrupting the two Venerables and using it as a threat to extort something from them to make up for his losses this time. The two Venerables smiled coldly to themselves. They understood why he would do this. If they placed themselves in Fang Yuan's perspective, they would do the same thing. After all, Fang Yuan was a new Venerable. He did not have a deep foundation like the other two. He lacked immortal essence as well. These reasons caused him to lag behind the two Venerables. If they fought against Spectral Soul Demon Venerable, he would face the greatest risk. Even if Spectral Soul Demon Venerable was killed, in terms of snatching battle spoils, because Fang Yuan lacked immortal essence and would not be able to last longer in combat, it was likely that he could not outdo these two Venerables. In fact, after they kill Spectral Soul Demon Venerable, if he runs out of immortal essence, the two of them would attack him immediately. Fighting in this situation was very disadvantageous to Fang Yuan. As for the two Venerables, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable secretly transmitted. Giant Sun, Heaven Refining Demon Venerable spent a lot of immortal essence to guard Heaven Form. He is currently at his weakest. You know that he is a greater threat than Spectral Soul Demon Venerable. Why don't we? Before Star Constellation Immortal Venerable finished, Giant Sun Immortal Venerable interrupted. Star Constellation, you can make a move first, I will support you. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable snorted. Giant Sun, your words lack sincerity. Whoever attacked Fang Yuan first would face his retaliation first. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable said that nicely, but if Star Constellation Immortal Venerable attacked, would he still help? What was in his best interests was to watch Star Constellation Immortal Venerable and Heaven Refining Demon Venerable fight it out. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable wanted to work with Giant Sun Immortal Venerable to fight against Fang Yuan. The truth was, she felt more wary against Fang Yuan. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable also wanted to see Fang Yuan's death. They all knew that Fang Yuan had the least amount of immortal essence among them. But how low was low? They had to make sure of this quantity first. According to their investigative methods, Fang Yuan still had a portion of his immortal essence reserves. If either of the two venerables wanted to kill Fang Yuan, they would need to pay a terrifying price. And in this situation with three venerables, they simply could not take the risk. The two venerables working together was the best choice for them. But Giant Sun Immortal Venerable and Star Constellation Immortal Venerable did not trust each other at all. They were also worried that if they forced Fang Yuan's hand, he might attack Central Continent and Northern Plains. Normally speaking, Gu Immortals had their own unspoken rules, they would not attack mortals or Gu Masters. This was something very disgraceful, especially for a Venerable, their pride would not allow them to make such actions. But with Fang Yuan's principles and bottom line, he would not hesitate to do so. Both Venerables agreed on this point with no uncertainty. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable was the most protective of his descendants, how could he allow Fang Yuan to slaughter them openly? Star Constellation Immortal Venerable was the second immortal king of Heavenly Court, how could she watch as Central Continent's 10 great ancient sects get destroyed by Fang Yuan? She would become a great sinner of Heavenly Court. Thus, both Venerables did not dare to act excessively. Sigh, now it seems that we cannot kill Fang Yuan or Spectral Soul Demon Venerable this time. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable sighed to herself, in that case, what's the point of wasting time here? Star Constellation Immortal Venerable wanted to retreat now, Giant Sun Immortal Venerable was thinking of the same thing. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable still felt some grudge toward Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, he transmitted to her secretly, I have to say, Star Constellation, if you really want to use Spectral Soul Demon Venerable to deal a blow to Fang Yuan, you should have stalled for more time so that he would waste more immortal essence on heaven form. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable snorted coldly, the fusion of the two heavens was short and intense, now is the most unstable moment, it is extremely hard to sustain heaven form. Fang Yuan is a refinement path Venerable, with his ability, he should have been able to protect the killer move while resisting Spectral Soul Demon Venerable. Who could have thought that he would resolutely sacrifice the white heavenly spirit and give up on this rank 9 killer move? Star Constellation Immortal Venerable showed an expression of pity. She did not know the truth. Fang Yuan had done his best at that time, the refinement of a rank 9 Immortal Gu took too much of his attention, he had no choice but to give up on heaven form. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable sighed as well, Star Constellation, don't you understand? Even though Fang Yuan is a demon, he is extremely cautious. He seems to be taking huge risks at times, but he is extremely vigilant inside. Although many of his actions seemed rash and risky, he had done so because of Spring-Autumn Cicada, he was greatly assured. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable snorted coldly, she did not want to talk with Giant Sun Immortal Venerable secretly anymore, she spoke out loud, in that case, forget about it. We'll meet again, everyone. Saying so, she turned around to leave. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable smiled at Fang Yuan and left just as quickly as her. Fang Yuan purposely moved slightly slower than them, he was stunned before retreating, but Spectral Soul Demon Venerable pursued him. Fang Yuan transmitted to the two Venerables, you two left so abruptly, you still want to talk about sincerity? Spectral Soul Demon Venerable has lost his sanity, are you going to let him slaughter the innocent lives in the world? You two are so cruel, you are vicious people, how can you call yourselves Immortal Venerables? After Star Constellation Immortal Venerable and Giant Sun Immortal Venerable heard his words, they could not help but think of his mistakes earlier which helped to heal Spectral Soul Demon Venerable. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable kept quiet and did not reply. While Giant Sun Immortal Venerable smiled and said, Fang Yuan, we underestimated you in Crazed Demon Cave which resulted in your success. But now, you have to work harder, there is no need to say such things in the future. How can simple words affect the battle between Venerables? Powerless excuses will only sound like the expression of the weak. Good, good, good. Fang Yuan gritted his teeth and said these words forcefully before he went silent. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable bore deep hatred towards Fang Yuan, even though the two Venerables left, he still chased Fang Yuan relentlessly. After Fang Yuan toyed around with him for some time, he used the same trick to activate a battlefield killer move and conceal himself again. After Spectral Soul Demon Venerable lost his target, he remained at the area and growled angrily, refusing to leave for a long time. Good, while Fang Yuan is trapped, I can use this chance to refine Heavenly Court's wisdom path Dao marks. Star constellation Immortal Venerable returned to Heavenly Court and said in satisfaction as she saw this. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable was still on the way back to Northern Plains, he thought. In this contest of 3 venerables, Fang Yuan suffered the greatest losses. Not only did he lose the rank 9 killer move Heaven Form and several Immortal Gu, he also expended some Immortal Essence. If he was not crafty enough to help Spectral Soul Demon Venerable, he will be in a worse state. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable's eyes shined with bright light. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable had refined many Northern Plains Wisdom Path Dao marks. The size surpassed the Luck Path Dao marks that Giant Sun Immortal Venerable refined in Central Continent. The reason was because Giant Sun Immortal Venerable's emphasis was on Fang Yuan's Eastern Sea. Although he refined some Central Continent Luck Path Dao marks, the total quantity was only half of Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. But Giant Sun Immortal Venerable was not assured. After returning to Longevity Heaven, he used Luck Path investigative methods. With some buzzing sound, Giant Sun Immortal Venerable first checked Star Constellation Immortal Venerable's luck. It had gotten slightly stronger. He looked at Fang Yuan's luck. It was still the same broken furnace as earlier. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable then inspected his own luck and frowned lightly. Even though my luck grew stronger, the external threat has grown significantly. What is going on? Where is this threat coming from? There were too few things that could threaten a Venerable. Fang Yuan. No way. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable shook his head. The other Venerables. Like the possible revival of Reckless Savage Demon Venerable or others. The most likely ones are from Heavenly Court. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable gained a lot this time, while Heavenly Court's 2 other Immortal Venerables have yet to revive. It seems that my greatest enemy is still Heavenly Court. In comparison, although Fang Yuan is a Venerable, his foundation is too thin. In the contest of Venerables, 1 step behind will cause him to lag by many steps later. In the future, if we maintain our advantage, we can just guard against his possible retaliation. Currently, in terms of Venerable battle strength, Spectral Soul Demon Venerable was the least threatening. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable was the strongest, especially in Longevity Heaven. Using his previous life's Dao marks, he could forcefully inspect the luck of the other Venerables. This was something that Star Constellation Immortal Venerable could not do. But in the outside world, without Longevity Heaven's Luck Path Dao marks, even if Giant Sun Immortal Venerable used similar methods, he could not reach such an effect. Maybe I can try to attack Heavenly Court. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable suddenly had such a thought. Once Star Constellation Immortal Venerable refines Heavenly Court's Wisdom Path Dao marks, she would receive a greater amplification than Giant Sun Immortal Venerable. This was because not only had Star Constellation Immortal Venerable contributed her own immortal aperture into it, all of the previous generation Wisdom Path Gu Immortals had also done the same, becoming part of Heavenly Court's foundation. But Giant Sun Immortal Venerable soon shook his head, rejecting this idea. Firstly, he did not have Heaven Form. The Luck Path method he used to invade Heavenly Court earlier had been dismantled. He could not get in easily anymore. Secondly, fighting against Heavenly Court Star Constellation Immortal Venerable now would expend his immortal essence. It would allow Fang Yuan to catch up. In the contest of 3 Venerables, neither can make a move easily. We need more situations like today's to truly claim victory. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable sighed. He did not stay in Longevity Heaven for long. He went back to Northern Plains to refine the Luck Path Dao marks. Fang Yuan was still trapped in the battlefield killer move. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable had not left yet. But Fang Yuan was not anxious. I'll show weakness for a while longer to relax the 2 Venerables' guard. But undoubtedly, this obscured heavenly secret killer move is so useful. This was not the first time Fang Yuan praised this move. Right now, obscured heavenly secrets' temporary heaven path Dao marks were extremely dense. They were like a huge fishing net that wrapped around his entire body. Within the sovereign immortal aperture, after the first blooming of heavenly essence treasure Imperial Lotus, Fang Yuan gained 99 yellow apricot immortal essence beads. A flash of light sparked in Fang Yuan's eyes as yellow apricot immortal essence was rapidly expended. Soon, he activated a heaven path method. Using this heaven path killer move, he started to unseal the truthful floating ice that he obtained from Crazed Demon Cave. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2237, Heaven Path Master. Chapter 2237, Heaven Path Master. Inside the sovereign immortal aperture. The blue-white truthful floating ice was shrinking inch by inch. In the battle in Crazed Demon Cave, Fang Yuan obtained several pieces of truthful floating ice, among them, one was quite large. As yellow apricot immortal essence got rapidly expended, his heaven path Dao marks also grew in numbers rapidly. Fang Yuan's heaven path Dao marks had reached 240,000 already. After unsealing the truthful floating ice for 6 hours, his heaven path Dao marks grew by 60,000. 10,000 Dao marks per hour, it was quite a good gain. But this was not his own gain. Fang Yuan's rule path, wisdom path, transformation path, strength path, earth path, wood path, and others were rising. These paths correspond to Limitless Demon Venerable, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, Reckless Savage Demon Venerable, Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable, Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable. These venerables all went into the 8th layer of Crazed Demon Cave. They had their respective investments. No, that's not all. After unsealing the truthful floating ice for 16 hours, Fang Yuan found that his other paths' attainment levels were rising too. But the growth in the other paths was much smaller and almost unobservable. Only after a long time and with sufficient accumulation could there be any significant changes. Among all the paths, the attainment level that rose the most was Heaven Path. Fang Yuan's foundation in Heaven Path was actually very weak. He had only cultivated it for a short time after all. All of his foundation were obtained from predecessors, for example, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable's Human Executing Heaven's Work, or Limitless Demon Venerable's Unrestrained Heavenly Mark Killer Move. Several days later in Sovereign Immortal Aperture, his Heaven Path Dao marks grew to 1,200,000. His Heaven Path attainment level went all the way from ordinary to master level. Fang Yuan stopped for now. He had expended over 100 yellow apricot immortal essence beads. If Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus had not bloomed once more during this period, Fang Yuan would not be able to keep up the expenditure. I need to save some immortal essence in case of a venerable battle. Fang Yuan carefully assessed his gains. The Heaven Path Master attainment level gave him a comprehensive growth. Regarding his Heaven Path Gu recipes, killer moves, and the understanding of the Heavenly Tao, he had renewed insight and even deeper comprehension. The most crucial thing was the conflict of Tao marks. His earlier intuition was not wrong. After becoming a Heaven Path Master, he would be able to create a conflict Tao mark method to completely solve the Sovereign Immortal Aperture's problem. The Sovereign Immortal Aperture had many different phenomena occurring. The origin was because of the non-conflicting Tao marks, they had fused too easily. Once conflict arose, Sovereign Immortal Aperture would be elevated to a new level, it would regain peace. Fang Yuan immediately used Wisdom Path methods to fully deduce the relevant killer move. Several days passed. Fang Yuan stored the battlefield killer move and left the immemorial two heavens. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable stayed for a long time but eventually gave up. Now, he was rampaging in the immemorial two heavens while eating soul beast armies and also fighting against the sun. Fang Yuan had no heaven form killer move left, he could not send Spectral Soul Demon Venerable who was far away. But Fang Yuan got back to Eastern Sea successfully. He landed deep in Eastern Sea and started to refine the natural refinement path Tao marks of Eastern Sea. At once, profound light surged as rank 9 aura spread like a tornado to the surroundings, the countless lifeforms nearby fled in fear. Song Clan's Gu immortals were the first ones alerted. After seeing this, they understood, Great Love Immortal Venerable was refining the natural refinement path Tao marks. Song Clan's first Supreme Elder quickly gathered the Gu immortals to discuss the matter. They wanted to meet Fang Yuan and offer him a gift. After all, Fang Yuan was currently in Song Clan's territory. However, they were soon informed by Wu Shuai that the members of the Heaven and Earth Great Love Alliance were not allowed to disturb Great Love Immortal Venerable now. Song Clan's members signed in relief, but they also felt disappointed. While Fang Yuan refined the natural Tao marks, he also continued deducing his heaven path killer moves. Not long after, he gained some results. But Feng Yuan was not satisfied yet. This newly deduced heaven path killer move was not much different from Paradise Earth's heavenly summary earthly norm. Heavenly summary earthly norm was able to arrange heaven path Dao marks to allow the target to recover to their normal condition. It was the counter to battlefield killer moves. Feng Yuan's deductions allowed heavenly summary earthly norm to go one step further. When used in the sovereign immortal aperture, it could allow the environment of the immortal aperture to change into the environment of the 5 regions and 2 heavens. The natural Dao marks of the 5 regions and 2 heavens were definitely conflicting. Thus, after converting them, the sovereign immortal aperture's Dao marks would also conflict. If I use this killer move hundreds or thousands of times, my sovereign immortal aperture will become like the 5 regions and 2 heavens, it will no longer have any strange phenomena. But in that case, I will lose my advantage of non-conflicting Dao marks, the losses will be too severe and I cannot cultivate all paths again. That was a cost Feng Yuan could not accept. Looking at the sovereign immortal aperture's advantage and its abnormal phenomena, the former was naturally more important. Can't the conflict appear and disappear according to my will? Segregating the locations of conflicting Dao marks like the time path zones. Feng Yuan sighed internally. He had no idea on how to start realizing this concept. Maybe when his heaven path attainment level reaches Great Grandmaster or higher, he might be able to achieve this. This time, Feng Yuan did not have any intuition regarding this, he could not be certain. Speaking of which, Sovereign Immortal Fetus Gu is a human path rank 9 Immortal Gu. To resolve my current problem, maybe I should target human path instead. Feng Yuan had a flash of inspiration, he saw a new direction to move towards. He had found the solution in terms of heaven path, but the price to pay was something that Feng Yuan could not accept. Would human path work? Back then, to refine Sovereign Immortal Fetus Gu, Spectral Soul Demon Venerable sacrificed the 10 extreme physiques. Speaking of human path research results, Feng Yuan thought of his clone who was trapped in Divine Emperor City. After Xianxia broke out of Divine Emperor City, he only brought back news of the clone who was still lurking inside Divine Emperor City. In the current world, Xianxia is definitely one of the top human path experts. If I want to get his human path research results, what sort of price should I pay? Heavenly Court. Oh. Feng Yuan left the 2 heavens and went back to Eastern Sea. He has started refining natural Dao marks. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable soon heard of Feng Yuan's actions. Even though he has the least immortal essence, he became venerable through refinement path. In terms of refining Dao marks, it should be his expertise. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable was very concerned with Feng Yuan's speed of refining Dao marks. If Feng Yuan's efficiency was too high, she would join up with Giant Sun Immortal Venerable to deal with Feng Yuan together. Otherwise, if he surpassed them in this aspect, it would be a huge problem for Star Constellation Immortal Venerable and Giant Sun Immortal Venerable. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable did not want to think about Spectral Soul Demon Venerable now. The contest of 3 Venerables had reached a new stage. Whichever Venerable refined the most natural Dao marks would have the greatest advantage. When refining the Dao marks, I can multitask by modifying killer moves and changing my combat system. This will grant me an advantage in the future fight between the Venerables. Star Eyes, Star Thought, Permanence. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable stared at these 3 Immortal Gu in her immortal aperture as her gaze became focused. After obtaining them from Feng Yuan, she had already inspected them 100 times but found no problems. Yet, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable was still a little suspicious. She was not a refinement path Venerable after all, although she had some achievements in refinement path, she could not compare to Feng Yuan at all, this was undeniable. It was like asking Feng Yuan to compare with Star Constellation Immortal Venerable in wisdom path, they were not on the same level. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable had spent 100 years of time to refine rank 9 wisdom Gu in her previous life. Even if I find no issues with them, this does not mean that Feng Yuan did not tamper with them. But this possibility is quite small. I also have to use these immortal Gu no matter what. Star constellation Immortal Venerable decided to take a risk. She cultivated Wisdom Path primarily with Star Path secondarily. Her combat system revolved around these two paths. But currently, her main method, the Stardust Killer move, was countered by Feng Yuan. If Star Constellation Immortal Venerable wanted to gain an advantage in their future fight, she would need to modify it greatly. In her modification plan, Star Thought Gu, Star Eyes Gu, and Permanence Gu had a huge role to play. Otherwise, why would Star Constellation Immortal Venerable request for Feng Yuan to make them? Longevity Heaven. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable retracted his gaze from Eastern Sea. Now, I need to pay attention to Feng Yuan's refinement progress. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable reminded himself while checking his own immortal essence reserves. He only had over 500 yellow apricot immortal essence beads left. The refinement of natural Tao marks expended a lot of immortal essence. Longevity Heaven could not produce immortal essence. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable was relying on his own rank 9 immortal aperture. The production speed was similar to Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. Be it Longevity Heaven or Heavenly Court, the revived two Venerables were on the same level as Feng Yuan. They had not gone through the first chaotic disaster. Feng Yuan's sovereign immortal aperture has immense foundation far surpassing me and Star Constellation. Thus, using the same amount of time, he can produce more immortal essence than us. Also, he has a large number of Blood Path Immortal Gu. Thinking of this, Giant Sun Immortal Venerable's expression turned a little dark. He cultivated Luck Path mainly with Blood Path on the side. He naturally needed a lot of Blood Path Immortal Gu. But Feng Yuan had refined many of them already. Although they were kept at rank 6, Immortal Gu were unique. This ruined many of Giant Sun Immortal Venerable's wonderful plans. Earlier, when guarding Heaven form, Feng Yuan negotiated with Giant Sun Immortal Venerable. He used these Blood Path Immortal Gu as the bargaining chip to haggle with Giant Sun Immortal Venerable. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable managed to get 3 Immortal Gu from Feng Yuan, but Giant Sun Immortal Venerable got none. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable was brooding over this. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable knows that Feng Yuan has the sovereign immortal aperture. As long as the latter's refinement speed is fast, I will contact her. It is unlikely that she will reject my offer to work together. By then, I will work with Star Constellation Immortal Venerable to fight against Feng Yuan again. While expending his immortal essence, I can also extort those Blood Path Immortal Gu from him. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable made various plans. He did not know that Feng Yuan was in possession of Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus, thus, he was more wary of Heavenly Court now. But now, there was no opportunity for him to attack Heavenly Court or Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. Feng Yuan's possession of those Blood Path Immortal Gu also greatly hindered his own Blood Path cultivation. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2238, Sunken Fish, Song Yishur. Chapter 2238, Sunken Fish, Song Yishur. With the fusion of both heavens, the surface of the sea became light and dark at alternate times. The sun and moon appeared together, all living beings were sent into chaos. In addition to the reign of 3 venerables, this was an unprecedented situation. As tides ebbed and flowed, winds blew gently as Feng Yuan sat on a cloud. He slowly opened his eyes. He had already spent some time refining Eastern Sea's refinement path Tao marks. He had some insight now. Currently, he had already refined over half of Song Clan's territory in terms of refinement path Tao marks. The range had spread to Poetic Emotion Sea area in the northwest, and also Ascending Heaven Plain in the southeast. All the refinement path Tao marks in this area belonged to Feng Yuan. Currently, even without shutting his eyes, Feng Yuan could sense many things related to refinement path. He had an extremely clear understanding of the quantity and distribution of refinement path Tao marks in this area. All sorts of refinement path Gu materials deep under the sea, the fish and shrimps that contained refinement path Tao marks, even the location of aquatic plants and others could be sensed by him. Currently, Feng Yuan had many thoughts in his mind. He needed to test them. He willed and stopped the refinement of Tao marks. Instead, he used an investigative killer move. At the next moment, his gaze pierced through the sea and went thousands of li deep. seeing a huge fish. This fish was as large as a building with 5 to 6 stories of height. The fish had a sharp front and back, with a thick middle section. It was like a shuttle. The scales were gray-black and did not shine, they had a rough texture that felt like gravel. This was a sunken fish, it contained rule path and refinement path Dao marks. The sunken fish was at least an ancient desolate beast, there were also immemorial desolate beasts among them. Fang Yuan was looking at an immemorial desolate beast sunken fish. The sunken fish had a special trait. Every few years, it would move its tail and come to the surface to breathe fresh air, that would cause it to be swept by the currents. And because it was heavy, it would continuously sink to the bottom while the currents moved it away. Whenever it moved its tail and exerted force to reach the surface, the scales of the sunken fish would fall off its body in the process. After it breathed enough fresh air, scales would grow on it again and it would become motionless, floating with the currents while sinking downwards. These scales that fell off its body seemed heavy, but they were light and delicate. Most would float to the surface of the sea. After a long time, these scales would be swept ashore. Gu masters would pick them up and treat them as treasure. The sunken fish scales were crucial Gu materials to refine beauty Gu, they had high value. On this point, they were like the feathers of the falling goose. But to refine beauty immortal Gu, I will need to use both immortal materials, sunken fish scales and falling goose feathers. While looking at this sunken fish, Fang Yuan's lips curled into a faint smile. He had the same sensation as earlier when he refined Dao marks. If I refine the refinement path Dao marks in the sunken fish's body, what would happen? Fang Yuan had refined the Dao marks of the natural world earlier, it did not include the Dao marks of lifeforms like the sunken fish. Fang Yuan tried it out immediately. He chose a refinement path killer move and modified it a little to allow him to forcefully refine this sunken fish from a far distance. The forceful refinement had just started when the lazy sunken fish jolted like it was shocked by lightning. It moved its tail quickly and tried to swim far away. It erupted with speed that did not match its huge size. A huge current was formed in the sea because of the force generated. "Where are you going?" Fang Yuan snorted coldly. He activated another method. The sunken fish immediately stopped moving while Fang Yuan forcefully refined all of its refinement path Dao marks. After the refinement, Fang Yuan's sensation of the sunken fish became several times clearer. Fang Yuan let go of the restraint as the sunken fish regained freedom, but its emotions were very negative. There were fear, anger, numbness, sadness, and others. It was as if the fish was undergoing a turmoil and could not continue living its life. What happened? Fang Yuan slowly observed the sunken fish. He saw that it had stopped eating food. The food of the sunken fish was not seaweed or fish, it was underwater sea soil. Every few years, the scales on the fish would turn into ordinary Gu materials or fall off on their own. They could not ensure its safety. Thus, it would sink to the bottom and eat a large amount of soil. This sunken fish that Fang Yuan tortured had lost most of its scales. Normally speaking, it should sink to the bottom of the sea and eat soil now. Did it lose the will to live after I brutally did that? Fang Yuan shook his head. He quickly used a wisdom path method. After some deductions, he understood the reason. The sunken fish ate sea soil to fill its stomach, but also to produce more scales. The source that produced its scales were the refinement path Dao marks on its body. Because of these refinement path Dao marks, it could digest the sea soil and draw nutrients from them, converting them into thick immortal material scales. But now, all of its refinement path Dao marks were refined by Fang Yuan, it lost this ability. Thus, even though it lacked scales, it did not attempt to eat sea soil. In order to test his findings, Fang Yuan used a food path killer move on this immemorial sunken fish. Soon, the sunken fish got hungry. This time, it chose to eat the sea soil. But good times did not last. Soil soon accumulated in its stomach but could not be digested quickly. If Fang Yuan did not dispel the food path killer move in time, the immemorial sunken fish would have died from stuffing itself with sea soil without being able to digest it. Fang Yuan used just a few methods to completely cripple an immemorial desolate beast. What if I return the Dao marks to it? Fang Yuan started to deduce again. He soon made a refinement path killer move that had an accompanying wisdom path killer move. Fang Yuan first used the wisdom path killer move to raise the mood of the sunken fish and started to guide it. Next, he used a refinement path method to teach the sunken fish to refine all of its refinement path Dao marks. Not long after, the sunken fish regained its refinement path Dao marks, light returned to its eyes as its life became less bleak, the negative emotions also left it. It quickly refined the sea soil in its body and turned them into immortal material fish scales. Fang Yuan nodded, this result was in line with his guess. Next, he refined the refinement path Dao marks of the immemorial sunken fish again. The sunken fish. It fell into a state of intense and complex emotions like numbness, fear, anger, and shock. Fang Yuan used brute force to chase it away to the bottom of the sea, which had fewer refinement path Dao marks that Fang Yuan had already refined. As he expected, his sensation of this immemorial sunken fish became much weaker. But when Fang Yuan placed this immemorial sunken fish to a place with more refinement path Dao marks, his connection to the sunken fish became much clearer and stable. Fang Yuan waved his hand, seawater erupted, the refinement path Dao marks within 1 li were all destroyed by him. In his sensation, this place became somewhat like a black hole. After Fang Yuan placed the immemorial sunken fish into this black hole, he could not sense the sunken fish at all. This proves that my refinement path sensation is extended through the Dao marks. This is like how a spider uses its webs. Fang Yuan's refinement path sensation was limited to the areas where he had refined Dao marks. These last days, he stayed in the deepest part of Eastern Sea and built his own spider web. If he or his prey left the range of the web, then he would not be able to sense anything. Fang Yuan felt quite satisfied about this discovery. Because Giant Sun Immortal Venerable had also refined a portion of Eastern Sea's luck path Dao marks. As long as Giant Sun Immortal Venerable did not personally interact with this area of luck path Dao marks, he would not have any luck path sensation, he would not be able to use the Dao marks to do anything. Of course, I cannot rule out the possibility that Giant Sun Immortal Venerable has immortal killer moves that can allow him to bypass distance and make use of the luck path Dao marks he refined in Eastern Sea. Fang Yuan reminded himself. After confirming many guesses, Fang Yuan had a lot of gains. He did the same thing again and returned the immemorial sunken fish's Dao marks to it. After that, he stopped torturing the poor fish and let it swim away in fear and panic. Fang Yuan fell into deep thought. Even though refinement path Dao marks are present all over the 5 regions and 2 heavens, they are not evenly distributed, some areas have more Dao marks while others have fewer. For me, the more abundant the refinement path Dao marks, the better. In that case, after I refine these Dao marks, my refinement path sensation will get stronger. When fighting or refining Gu in such an environment, the amplification will be huge. What was this situation? Fang Yuan's expression changed slightly, he could sense an intense refinement path fluctuation from far away. Poetic emotion sea area. Fang Yuan immediately used his investigative method and saw through the truth. He quickly found the source of the refinement path fluctuation. It was Song Yishe. Poetic Emotion Sea Area was the territory of Song Yishe. She had built a palace in the underwater volcano. Currently, she was cultivating in her palace, her clothes were all taken off, exposing her snow-white flesh and slender figure. She was activating a water path killer move, endless steam was produced. The steam covered her entire body, making her beautiful face even more alluring than normal. Fang Yuan understood at once, so that's it. He immediately deciphered that Song Yishe was practicing her water path defensive killer move. Eastern Sea's Song clan specialized in water path, they had a signature water path inheritance called flowing water. This inheritance had defensive killer moves like non-corroding flowing water, emotionless flowing water, flowering flowing water and others. They guarded against poison path, wisdom path, and wood path respectively. There were also killer moves like flowing water carriage for movement, thin flowing water that reduced immortal essence expenditure, flowing water wine party that mimicked food path effect, or moving cloud flowing water that helped with killer move activation. Song Yishe is currently using non-corroding flowing water. This is a passive defensive method, the essence is to carve water path defensive killer move on the body. Once a poison path attack lands, it will activate on its own. This is a form of Gu refinement in essence, except that the target is the Gu immortal's physical body. No wonder I can sense it. Fang Yuan realized and took a close look. He had incredible attainment levels, he was a supreme grandmaster in refinement path and a great grandmaster in water path. After looking for a while, he deciphered all of the profundities of non-corroding flowing water. Fang Yuan gained some interest. It was a great opportunity, he had new ideas to test out. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know, report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2239, Same Origin. Chapter 2239, Same Origin. Xianxia cultivated for 6 hours before stopping her killer move. She let out a breath of air and opened her eyes. She saw that a lump of steam that was vague and illusory flowed from her arms to her legs, finally stopping at her chest. Xianxia looked at the steam and felt joyful internally. At this rate, I can complete my cultivation of this non-corroding flowing water killer move in half a month. Strange, why did this cultivation session feel more effective than before? Is it just me? Xianxia shook her head slightly. She inspected her immortal essence. There was little immortal essence left, she also lacked immortal essence stones now. Heavenly Court is the source of immortal essence stones. Once they stopped distributing those, the entire market's immortal essence stones fell greatly in number. I have grandfather's help in secret, but all other Gu immortals should be having a tougher time. Xianxia sighed to herself. If she had enough immortal essence stones, she would use them to replenish her immortal essence now to continue cultivating the non-corroding flowing water killer move. But now, she had to slow down and let her immortal essence produce immortal essence naturally. After it accumulates to a degree, she could resume her cultivation. After I complete the non-corroding flowing water killer move, I will move on to emotionless flowing water. My clan's flowing water inheritance is our signature inheritance, it is renowned in Eastern Sea, being quite exceptional even in the 5 regions. Passive defensive killer moves are rare to begin with, normally speaking, Gu immortals can only cultivate one of them, they cannot stack many passive defensive killer moves. But my clan's flowing water inheritance has a unique concept, it is ingenious. By using the same core, we can stack passive defensive killer moves. Thinking of this, Xianxia felt a little proud of her background. But soon, such emotions vanished. I am still far from success. After completing emotionless flowing water, I will undergo tribulation and reach rank 7. With the contest of 3 venerables and the fusion of 2 heavens, the 5 regions' chaotic war may erupt at any time. Xianxia was originally the prized jewel of her clan, she was doted on by her grandfather and received the support of the clan, having no lack of resources. Her incredible appearance also made her one of the 6 beauties of Eastern Sea. But her carefree life could no longer return. The situation was changing too rapidly, Xianxia felt no sense of assurance at all. Currently, all of Eastern Sea's righteous path super forces had joined Fang Yuan's side, this was something unimaginable in the past. The external pressure forced Xianxia, this prized jewel, to have an intense urge to cultivate. Especially when Song clan's first supreme elder, Song Qi Yuan, who was also her grandfather, gave Xianxia some exciting news. In the letter, Song Qi Yuan nagged endlessly before mentioning the orders of the Heaven and Earth Great Love Alliance. They were going to pick a number of merfolk Gu immortals from the Merman Imperial Court to live in sovereign immortal aperture. Even though Fang Yuan did not specify the ratio of male to female he wanted, the Merman Imperial Court purposely chose some female immortals with the most beautiful appearances and elegant demeanors. In addition, Fang Yuan had never been known to have any love interests, he had always faced great external pressure all the way until he became a venerable. Now that he could rival Heavenly Court and Longevity Heaven, his pressure fell immensely. Along this train of thought, Song Qi Yuan mentioned Giant Sun Immortal Venerable. Back then, after Giant Sun Immortal Venerable became venerable, he took in all the beauties of the world and created 5 harem palaces. Afterwards, he mentioned the other venerables. All the 10 venerables had partners in their lives, only the number was different. Even the unmarried star constellation Immortal Venerable had once been in love, it involved a certain variant human Gu immortal. Song Qi Yuan vaguely suggested an idea in order to probe the intention of his beloved granddaughter. If Great Love Immortal Venerable wants to choose a wife or concubine, will Song clan offer me to him? Initially, Xianxia was very angry. But a few days later, she calmed down and thought about it rationally. grandfather will not force me, he is only raising this possibility and wants to see if I am willing to do so. However, if Great Love Immortal Venerable orders this personally like Giant Sun Immortal Venerable and wants to collect beauties, how can I escape? How can Song clan protect me? Song Yishur, who had always been proud as a crane, felt bitter and helpless internally after she realized this. If such a situation occurs, I cannot burden this clan which nurtured and raised me. Grandfather loves me so deeply, he funded me and gave me water clothing Immortal Gu secretly. If not for this Immortal Gu, how could I have modified the killer move and successfully cultivated the flowing water inheritance? How can I repay him? How can I let my unwillingness lead to Song clan's extermination? How can I be this selfish? Song Yishur thought of this and felt a deep sense of guilt internally. Along this thought, she thought of the deeper aspect. If Great Love Immortal Venerable has such intentions, for the sake of the clan, I need to offer myself to him. Why should I wait until then? Why can't I go further and take the initiative instead? If I can succeed, by just sacrificing myself, I will ensure the prosperity of Song clan for countless years. Sigh, I'll stop thinking about this. Fang Yuan did not know that just one order from him led to such distorted thoughts of his subordinates. In fact, Fang Yuan did not know that Song Yishur was having complex emotions now, he was looking at his recent gains. When Song Yishur cultivated, Fang Yuan had secretly used methods through the refinement path Dao marks in poetic emotion C area to help her out. Fang Yuan gave it a simple try, the effort was as mild as breathing, but Song Yishur's cultivation gains rose by at least 10%. If I use my full effort, Song Yishur's cultivation efficiency will rise by tens of times. She is undergoing water path cultivation, because it is a passive defensive method, it has something to do with refinement path. If this were a genuine Gu refinement attempt, my influence would be even greater. This means that I can use refinement path to help others refine Gu. At the same time, I can also ruin their attempts. Or at least, without my permission, nobody can refine an immortal Gu in my refinement path Dao mark domain. This was terrifying. The power of a venerable was displayed at its fullest. Fang Yuan was overjoyed, but he also had a heavy mood. If his refinement path could have such an influence, it meant that Giant Sun Immortal Venerable and Star Constellation Immortal Venerable would have the same influence in Luck Path and Wisdom Path. If I refine all the refinement path Dao marks in the 5 regions and 2 heavens, while invigilating the world at all times, if any Gu Immortal tries to refine Immortal Gu, I will be able to ruin the attempt. In that case, can I make it such that only my faction can refine Immortal Gu? Fang Yuan thought of this problem. But soon, he shook his head. If Gu Immortals refined Gu in their own immortal apertures, Fang Yuan could not influence them. Because immortal apertures were isolated worlds of their own. But if a Gu Immortal refined Gu outside, Fang Yuan would be able to sense and influence it. Putting aside the issue of Song Yishur, Fang Yuan placed his attention on a certain coral group deep in the sea. These corals contained abundant refinement path Gu materials, they were a natural refinement path resource point of heaven and earth, they had very high value but had not been discovered by anyone. Fang Yuan pondered and searched meticulously. He used time path killer moves to observe the formation of this coral group. Why did such a refinement path resource point form? Thousands of years ago, there was nothing here. But a sunken fish died here. The refinement path and rule path Dao marks of the sunken fish spread out and influenced the surroundings. After a few hundred years, the sunken fish's corpse decomposed entirely, while the environment also stabilized. Initially, all sorts of fish and shrimps came here in groups. Afterwards, middle-sized and large-sized beasts also moved here. The sea currents were turbulent, causing seeds and corals to be swept over. After thousands of years of development and natural selection, due to lucky opportunities and evolution, this resource point was created now. Fang Yuan's focus was on the refinement path Dao marks of the coral group. For thousands of years, the refinement path Dao marks here had been increasing and decreasing, being extremely unstable. Eventually, the group grew to this size. As long as I replicate the development of this refinement path resource point, with enough time, I can create such a refinement path resource point anywhere in the sovereign immortal aperture. Of course, there was an easier method, which was to directly create a refinement path formation and consume immortal materials to create an environment that was similar to this coral resource point. But this method needed the formation to have some immortal goo, it also expended immortal essence. Meanwhile, creating a refinement path resource point through a naturally developed Dao mark distribution would not expend immortal essence or require immortal goo. In truth, Fang Yuan had always been using the latter method for his development of the sovereign immortal aperture. By setting up immortal formations everywhere, he instantly created resource points. For example, the earth vein nodes and water vein nodes were all formations that he created. These formations not only used immortal goo, there were also formations that used immortal resources as the core. This was a quick method that needed very little time, but the cost was very high. While natural development had low costs, no immortal goo was needed, while immortal materials were slowly accumulated naturally, but the time needed was too long. No matter which method it is, they have the same origin, they are all just killer moves. Immortal formations were killer moves, while naturally derived Dao mark distribution was also a type of passive killer move. It was just that this killer move was not defensive but was used to develop an environment. Wait. Fang Yuan thought of the killer moves Divine Concealment, Ghostly Concealment, and Spaceless Tunnel. Divine Concealment and Ghostly Concealment both created thick and dense clothing of Dao marks on the soul, they were like tightly weaved silk clothing. They did not expend immortal essence and were passive defensive killer moves. Additionally, Spaceless Tunnel was created by Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable as well, it was used in various places of the 5 regions and 2 heavens, shortening travel distance. This killer move from 300,000 years ago was still active now, but with the fusion of 2 heavens, it should have already been mostly destroyed. The essence of these killer moves has no difference from the coral resource point. Fang Yuan thought of fortune rivaling heaven immortal goo. This immortal goo was a consumable goo that could give the goo immortal immense luck to rival the heavens after use, no longer consuming immortal essence anymore. What was the difference in essence between it and the coral resource point? Fang Yuan then thought of the incomplete refinement sea. This was the refinement path secluded domain of heaven and earth that Xianxia land spirit wanted to create with all his effort. What is a secluded domain of heaven and earth? It is merely an agglomeration of Dao marks of a specific path to form a certain special effect. Dang Hun Mountain produces Guts Gu, while Qian Kun Crystal Wall can reflect everything that happens in this world. Secluded domains of heaven and earth are the extreme form of resource points, they are also the other aspect of goo worms and killer moves. Thus, everything has the same point of origin. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know, report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2240, Refinement Main, Heaven Specialty. Chapter 2240, Refinement Main, Heaven Specialty. Knowledge obtained from theory always feels shallow, one needs practice to understand it completely. Fang Yuan muttered to himself. Understanding that all things had the same point of origin was one matter, putting it into practice was another. Fang Yuan completely comprehended the essence of killer moves like Divine Concealment and Ghostly Concealment, but he had done so through Refinement Path. Because of the limitation of Theft Path attainment level, he could not modify Ghostly Concealment yet. He had the ability to create Refinement Path killer moves similar to Divine Concealment and Ghostly Concealment, although it would be a difficult process and the price to pay would be great. During this period where the 3 Venerables contested, if Fang Yuan invested a lot of his time and energy into creating a top-tier Refinement Path killer move, it would be too risky. The timing and opportunity did not allow Fang Yuan to do so. However, the Refinement Path resource points of the 5 regions and 2 heavens had a lot of value to him as references. After Fang Yuan simplified them and took out the true core, he would be able to modify them into mature passive killer moves that could be used to develop the immortal aperture. Basically, these passive killer moves were very rare among killer moves, they had great value. The most common ones were defensive methods. Song Yishi's pride came from this reason. Duke Long only had one of such a move too, it was called 9 Dragons Protection. As far as Fang Yuan knew, Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable created no more than 5 of such killer moves like Divine Concealment and Ghostly Concealment in his life. The creation of a killer move starts with the use of multiple Gu worms by a predecessor to gain experience gradually. The Gu cultivation predecessors took reference to the innate abilities of the living beings in the 5 regions and 2 heavens to rapidly establish the foundation of killer moves. Until today, the Gu cultivators had already hit the limit of this world. For example, Duke Long created the Dragonman race, Langya Land's spirit created an artificial secluded domain, Spectral Soul Demon Venerable created soul beasts. He turned all sorts of soul path killer moves into Dao marks that were carved onto soul beasts to grant them innate abilities. All of these accomplishments showed that Gu cultivators had already rivaled the natural world. They were able to grasp the profundity of heaven and earth. And Limitless Demon Venerable went one step further. He made an arrangement in Crazed Demon Cave, breaking the world boundary to create a whole and even making brand new heaven path Dao marks. He had surpassed the entire Gu cultivator world single-handedly. This was the first time Fang Yuan was refining the refinement path Dao marks of the outside world. With his Supreme Grandmaster attainment level and manual practice, Fang Yuan gained a lot of insight. To conclude, the 5 regions and 2 heavens had a vast number of refinement path Dao marks, but they were not evenly distributed. Some places were dense while others were sparse. These refinement path Dao marks were very stable and hard to change. Normally speaking, their growth was extremely slow and needed a lot of time to accumulate. These refinement path Dao marks could be seen as the basis of the entire world's refinement path foundation. On this foundation, a large number of beasts, plants, and lifeless Gu materials were produced and nurtured. These beasts and plants were related to refinement path. They were refinement path resources. Normally speaking, in places with dense refinement path Dao marks, the relevant resources would also be more abundant and high quality. In places with sparse refinement path Dao marks, there would be fewer refinement path resources and of lower quality. The refinement path Dao marks and resources had a deep influence on each other. For example, the coral group that Fang Yuan saw earlier was a refinement path resource point. The source was an immemorial sunken fish that died thousands of years ago. Its refinement path Dao mark scattered in the surroundings and a portion was left behind in that location. The Dao marks that Fang Yuan refined here were the refinement path foundation of the world. Refinement path resources were not included in this. The natural Dao marks that Fang Yuan refined were like a huge spider web. As long as Fang Yuan was in range, he would be able to sense all refinement path activities within the web. This was the so-called refinement path sensation. Fang Yuan had a vague sensation of the refinement path resources. He could also sense the refinement path activities of Gu cultivators. In places with dense refinement path Dao marks, the sensation would be more intense, stable, and clearer. For example, he would be able to find small-scale ordinary refinement path Gu materials. Conversely, if the refinement path Dao marks were sparse, the refinement path sensation would be weaker. In those regions, Fang Yuan would only be able to sense refinement path immortal materials. If there was a hole in the spider web, or if a Gu immortal refined Gu in their immortal aperture, Fang Yuan would not sense anything. Using the refinement path Dao marks that he refined, Fang Yuan could influence everything in that range. He could interfere with the living beings as well as the natural environment. For example, he could help Song Yishe cultivate, strengthen refinement path resource points like the coral group, or even create a top-tier refinement path passive killer move, like Spaceless Tunnel, that could exist indefinitely. Simply using refinement path Dao marks to amplify his own strength was only the most basic use. From the angle of refinement path, in the entire Gu cultivation world, the 5 regions and 2 heavens are just a giant immortal material. This immortal material comprises everything. It has Dao marks of all paths. Even though I became a refinement path venerable, I can only refine a portion of this huge immortal material. This is true for Giant Sun Immortal Venerable, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, and all other venerables. Owning a portion of heaven and earth, this is what a Dao Lord entails. The other venerables are only able to become the Lord of one Dao, but I am different. Fang Yuan's sovereign immortal body had non-conflicting Dao marks. He cultivated all paths. The other venerables could do one main path and one specialty path at best. Their main path would become their venerable path, while their specialty path would be used to fight and compete. In theory, Fang Yuan could cultivate all the paths and become a venerable of all paths. This was the intention of Spectral Soul Demon Venerable when he spent all his effort to refine Sovereign Immortal Fetus Gu. Fang Yuan had incomparable potential, the limit of his growth was unimaginable. The other venerables also know this. The only reason why they did not kill me is because I displayed incredible battle strength in Crazed Demon Cave. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable and Star Constellation Immortal Venerable knew that the price to kill me was too great, they could not take the backlash. Fang Yuan did not continue to refine Dao marks. He decided to stop for now. Even though Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus had bloomed again in the Sovereign Immortal Aperture and gave him nearly 100 Immortal Essence beads again. Even though he had all sorts of refinement path methods to raise his refinement efficiency by many times, far surpassing the venerables. This was obvious. Refinement path most excelled in this aspect. In terms of refinement path, he far surpassed the other two venerables. This was the advantage of refinement path to begin with. However, I cannot display my advantage now, it will overly agitate those venerables. Fang Yuan thought to himself. Once he used his advantage, the two venerables would move. Although they felt that they had some advantage, if they saw that Fang Yuan's Dao mark refinement speed was so fast, they would not sit still, they would have to come and stop him. Fang Yuan was not afraid of getting attacked by them. After all, he had enough immortal essence reserves now. Although the quantity was not high, the two venerables could not kill him in a short time. As they fought, Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus would gradually accumulate an advantage for Fang Yuan. But there was no point in going this far. Most importantly, it would cause Fang Yuan's secret to be exposed, the existence of obscured heavenly secret. The loss was not worth the gain. Blindly using one's advantage was the biggest trap in life. Fang Yuan knew deeply that assessing the situation was most important. Next, I need to refine Dao marks with a slower speed. My efficiency should be around the same level as the two venerables, but I need to stop multiple times to pretend that I am out of immortal essence. Of course, I cannot be overly weak, otherwise, they will want to work together to get rid of me. Fang Yuan had a good grasp of this situation, he knew what to do. He had abundant life experience after all. Especially in the 500 years of his previous life, all sorts of failure, pain, and losses became the valuable foundation that supported him. Keeping a low profile while profiting greatly. By the time I expose this secret, I am sure the two venerables will not be able to keep their cool. Fang Yuan activated Cooking Luck Pot to inspect his luck again. His luck still resembled a furnace. Fang Yuan had inspected this many times already, he had some guesses about it. This was caused by his status as a refinement path venerable. His luck's appearance was stabilized and would not change for a period of time. The furnace was still quite crude, it had cracks remaining. But from the vast number of cracks, 2 or 3 of them had mended. This was because the Sovereign Immortal Aperture had already completed the first earth vein, the second one was on the way. It had also completed the first water vein. These were all helping to stabilize his foundation. And compared to the past, there was a huge change on the surface of the furnace. There was a lotus flower pattern. The lotus flower pattern was clearly referring to rank 9 Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus. It showed how significant this immortal Gu was to Fang Yuan. The lotus flower pattern went one round around the outer layer of the furnace, it extended to the bottom and turned into several lotus roots. These lotus roots went deep into the bottom of the furnace and burned together with the firewood that represented immortal essence. Compared to the weak fire earlier, the furnace was fully lit now, the flames expanded by several times, showing great growth. There was no lid on the furnace, the scene inside could be seen. The immortal crane cloud that symbolized heaven form and the green lotus cloud that was Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus were both gone now. Instead, there was a piece of blue-white ice, symbolizing the truthful floating ice. The blue-white ice was heated in the furnace, slowly melting and generating a beautiful halo. At the top of the furnace, there was a large amount of reddish-brown sand dust, floating like a cloud. The reddish-brown sand dust condensed into one lump and slowly went into the furnace. It was easily melted and infused into the furnace, fixing the cracks and slowly making the furnace smoother from its crude state. This should be referencing my action of refining natural Dao marks. If I go all out on this, the sand dust will pour down rapidly and block my opening of my furnace. It can even put out the fire at the bottom. Excessive progress is not good. This shows the terrible outcome of facing two venerable suppression at the same time. Fang Yuan had used luck inspection many times. He was able to reference the phenomena he saw to actual events that were happening more easily. Even though rank 8 cooking luck pot was too low in rank and did not suit the current Fang Yuan, it still displayed the profundity of luck path, reminding Fang Yuan that the most important variables to him now were refining Dao marks and also heaven path development. The refinement of Dao marks can progress slowly, but I also need to unseal the truthful floating ice in secret. Right now, immortal essence is not my burden, it is my advantage instead. I need to use all my immortal essence and convert my resources into foundation and strength. Venerables all had one main and one specialty path. Fang Yuan had planned from long ago to use refinement path as his main, and heaven path as his specialty. Refinement path was his main cultivation, but refinement path itself was weak in the fighting aspect. This was a publicly known fact. In this situation, Fang Yuan needed another path to support his battle strength. This path should have few cultivators, for example, painting path. That would allow him to catch enemies off guard and prevent them from having precaution against him. Even though there were many paths in existence, Fang Yuan did not have many choices. Looking at his situation, heaven path was the best choice. There were almost no heaven path cultivators, the criteria was too hard to achieve. Heaven path itself was very special and had extraordinary potential, its might was also unrivaled. Refinement path as main, heaven path as specialty. This was Fang Yuan's current cultivation plan. The heaven refining demon venerable title that Giant Sun Immortal Venerable and Star Constellation Immortal Venerable gave to Fang Yuan was truly appropriate. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible.